Hello, we are in a conversation again with Dr. Michael Laitman. Hello. And last time we were talking about anti-Semitism. And Dr. Laitman explained elaborately where it all comes from, that it started from Babel, that there was a priest called Abraham, and he discovered this this upper world, and he taught it to whoever wanted to come, and those who came with him, and they became Israel, and the rest of the people in Babylon dispersed throughout the world. That's the Kabbalistic view. And then Dr. Laitman explained that the reason why there's anti-Semitism is that now the rest of the world needs that connection too, and they feel that Jews have that connection, although Jews, for the most part, don't realize it. And so they are subconsciously angry at Jews for not opening the valve and spreading it out to the rest of the world. Right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now the question is, why there are waves of anti-Semitism. It goes up and down and up and down. We've seen it all through history. But lately, there seems to be like a convergence, a global wave of anti-Semitism that's unprecedented. It's coming from all directions, from Hungary, from Germany, from the UK, from the United States. There are people where there are no Jews, and there's still anti-Semitism. So why is this happening now? Is there a specific meaning to this current time?
Just like Kabbalists designed our calendar, our timetable, and it includes all the months and the holidays and how everything is related to the sun and the moon and everything happening on the face of Earth. In the same way, they wrote about the future of the world, wherever it's possible to write about it, and where it's impossible, because it's better to hide from people, or because we have free choice, we're not just under the forces of nature, and we express actions and make actions in a way that is conscious and not just instinctively. So, according to what they wrote to us, we have to stay in exile until 1995. We're talking about from the ruin of the temple. So, 100 years even before the exile, so at the end of before the end of the exile, we've already entered the process of going back to the land of Israel. I'm not even talking about Herzl and Balfour and everything that happened back then and all those preparations, including the first Aliyah and the second Aliyah to Israel.
Yes, but historically you can see that this is when Jews started returning to Israel.
Yes. And this is written in the history of Kabbalah, meaning in the calendar of Kabbalah. It says this, that Kabbalah begins to be revealed correspondingly. So from the beginning of the 20th century, there was the preeminent Kabbalist who worked in Israel, Kabbalist Yehuda Ashlag, who is also known as Baal Sulam, master of the ladder, based on the ladder commentary that he wrote to the book of Zohar, and he disclosed the wisdom of Kabbalah to all. After he wrote the commentary to the book of Zohar and opened it for everyone, he wrote a few more books on Kabbalah and created a great group of Kabbalists. The leader of the group of Kabbalists that he built was his older son, Baruch Ashlag, and his son and successor, and I am his student. So what I'm saying is there is already an appearance of this group of Kabbalists who is growing and growing and growing. We already have more than books. It's video and audio, and there's all the media that we have. In Israel, we're broadcasting on we have our own two TV channels and so on, meaning it's a whole network that is more like an educational network. It's not like just a series of Kabbalists that have passed it on from Abraham to our days, but from Baal Sulam and onwards, the opening started, the opening of the wisdom towards all the Jews. And in our time, meaning the third group after Baal Sulam, it's not only for all the Jews, but for all the world, because the world has become integrated, interconnected. Humanity has reached the same form it once had in Babylon. We've closed the circle.
The circle.
Yes. So it's closed now. We've come back full circle to the same state where Abraham started. So what happened in this circle? A small part that came from Babylon, called the people of Israel, they detached themselves from Babylon and built themselves in the land of Israel. They were built as a strong, powerful group of Kabbalists called people of Israel. They had awareness, attainment of the upper world. They were connected to each other. It was a special time where they had the correction of being able to live in both worlds. Afterwards, like Rabbi Akiva said, they fell from the brotherly love to unfounded hatred. This is something known, that it is said that the second temple was ruined due to unfounded hatred, meaning they began to relate to each other just like all the nations related, people in all the nations related to each other. And that's why they emerged out of this area to all the other places in the world. There's a quality of this geographic location that is expressed in this geographic location on the face of the planet. And after we have mingled with all the nations of the world in that exile, now we're reaching a point where once again the entire planet is like Babylon, what was back then in Babylon. But now there are those people who already have that line of connection to the spiritual world. So what we have to do now is revive their connection, so they feel once again that they are the people of Israel, that are connected between them, just like it was before the ruin of the temple, what's called love thy friend as thyself. And by that they'll open the valves of their lines, meaning they don't have to open it from, it doesn't need to be opened from above. Once I connect to you and you connect to me, and two connected is already something. If our hearts are connected together, this circulation of the upper
That's the opening
light
of the valve.
comes. Yes, exactly. It opens up by itself as long as we open our hearts to each other. That's how it is. And then it turns out that if the people of Israel today open those valves between them, by that they also cause all the other lines between all the other nations to open as well. Because we have mingled with them, we've become integrated with them through the exile process. This is what the exile was meant for. It's written, the people of Israel came out to exile in order to attach, to join to themselves the souls of the nations. Meaning, by going out to exile, it's as if we have collected, we have gathered all the rest of the Babylonians who were once in Babylon there and connected them to us. And that's why they all look at us and say, point to us and saying, you are to blame.
How did they do it? By intermarrying, or how did they...
No. It happens by connection of the inner force, our spirit. Religions also that they took on, and what Abraham was giving to the people in Babylon.
I'm asking because the Jews usually kept to themselves, wherever they were. They lived in their own villages and...
True, yes, of course. Physically, they didn't assimilate, but they provided this world with the contact. And it also expressed itself in culture. And as we said in previous shows, in philosophy,
Yes.
they took our wisdom and made it into philosophy. Science was built from this as well. This is something you can also examine historically, and we see the same
Yeah,
things,
we can say statistically as
similar
well.
things happening in the world today. We also see how the Jewish people appear in every realm. So, by this, we have come closer to that Babylonian part, who also received a method from Abraham. Don't think they didn't. All the rest of the Babylonians heard from him as well, but they heard these things for the purpose of connecting with us during the exile. So, in short, they went from Babylon to all the other places. We came out of the land of Israel and connected with them. We were along with them 2,000 years in this exile, and it's a special integration between us that we become integrated with them and they become integrated with us. We share their opinions, they share our opinions, and we've become intermingled. We don't understand how this really happened internally. We still have to learn what it means, the real meaning of this exile, and a blending of our intentions and our approach and our philosophy and view of the world and so on. Because we lost the higher sensation and we became exactly like them. So now is the time when this integration has ended, this exile has ended, and we all have to rise to the spiritual
Right
height,
now.
because that's the plan of creation. That's the development of the world. According to the plan of creation, from Adam Arishon, the one who discovered the spiritual world for the first time, and he is called Adam Arishon, the first man. And today, it turns out that we have some years left, a number of years left, to attain the full correction, which means that the whole of humanity lives in both worlds and feels eternity and wholeness and unlimited development.
So according to the plan of creation, now at year 5,000, you said 2,000, 5,772, right? Now is the time for everyone, all the people, to start feeling what Abraham taught those who wanted to learn back in Babylon.
Correct.
And we have to provide that. And the world, entire world, both nations of the world and the Jewish people, are being now pushed by nature, so that we're all in a global integral crisis in a round manner.
What do you mean by this round?
Interdependence. In politics, culture, economy, education, everything. Today, we cannot provide what we have to have without taking almost the entire world into it. We haven't been aware of this, and it just happened all of a sudden. It happened in, say, the last 50 or 70 years. This is what has happened. So all of this is in order for us to feel that one cannot live without the other. Really can't live without the other. We still don't understand this, but this is beginning to be felt, for instance, in Europe, in the European crisis. Try to take one country from Europe out of this agreement, and you'll see how everything collapses. And the whole world will have to feel like that, and it will soon. But what do we have to do right now? The fact that the whole world feels that it is found in that one place, just like in Babylon, being pressured on the one hand, on the other hand, seeing that we can't really survive, that we don't really know how to correct the economic crisis, financial crisis, what's happening in the industry, technology, education, family life, culture. We're broken in many ways, losing the motivation to live, the purpose to life, and mostly we don't know why, what for. And nature also the natural crisis, the ecological crisis, is pushing us not from inside but from outside, beginning to forcing us to relate to nature as one and be as one in doing that. So the human starts thinking, how do I come out of this? Soon I may be jobless, I may be foodless, I may not be able to provide for my family, and beginning to search for what to do. We see that in these hard situations, precisely in these times, people like Hitler may appear, and the people may believe them because they feel subconsciously that also that we um, somehow have something that is beyond this world and it influences this world, whether it's the Zionists' protocols, or that we have some plans behind their back. They think something of that sort, but they have that instinctively. So if someone like Hitler arises and starts talking about it, he immediately directs them to us.
So let me just see if I understand what you're saying. You're saying there's a global crisis. Everything is interdependent, right? Everything depends on everything else on every level. And people don't know how to resolve the crisis, any of the crises that are happening now.
And they won't know.
And they won't know in the future
No
as
one
well.
will know.
Right.
And no experts or economists or smart people will get it. We will see that people may trust someone specific or hang hopes on some device or something, but none of it will work.
And at the same time, they have this hunch, this gut feeling that the Jews have something, they know something, that they've got this secret or whatever.
This feeling awakens in them more and more, also because they are helpless.
Yes. And so that's why now, because of the global crisis, and because they are helpless and they feel that the Jews may have an answer, so now they're coming to the Jews. Is that why it's happening now?
And that's how it also happened almost 100 years ago in the times of Hitler.
And what's the answer that we have that we don't know we have it?
Our answer.
Yes, what's the answer? What's the answer to the crisis? What is this?
That we have to be connected, unified between us, so that the upper abundance will flow through us, the upper light as we call it, and by that we can also be a light of the nations and give them this light as well.
The crisis?
Of course, not only the crisis, it will solve the entire problem of the world, because the complaint towards us is not just now in the times of the crisis, but throughout the generations. But again, look at what is written in the Torah. The Creator went to all the nations, 70 nations originally, and wanted to give them the Torah, which means the method of connection, that if people unite, connect, just like a connected system, this stream goes through them, and then they live in both worlds, this world as well as the upper circulation of life that goes through them, and then they feel a life of eternity, a good life, a great level, a whole new level of life. And so he went to give them this method, the method of connection called arvut, or mutual guarantee, to be responsible for each other, guarantors for each other, connected.
And they didn't want it.
And they couldn't receive it because they only had an egoistic form of desire. They were all in collision with each other.
And the Jews were ready to connect, to unite? That's the thing?
The Jewish people are those souls. It's not actually people. There are specific individual souls in the whole of humanity that Abraham collected in Babylon. Those souls do have connection with the spiritual world, and through connection with them, they can create that circuit through which the upper abundance will flow, will stream. The nations of the world cannot do that, but because the Creator turned to them in the beginning and wanted to give them the Torah, they have this demand, this question. So why aren't we connected? Why can't we have the upper abundance? It lies deep in their subconscious. It's in what we call in Kabbalah reshimot, their recollections, in the bottom of their soul where they can't feel it. But something there inside always pokes them and disturbs them. And this is something that exists in each and every person from the nations of the world, that they have something that I don't have, and it doesn't matter that they themselves may not even know it. But it's like if I'll take him and I'll cut him up and I'll find something special that I don't have. Today we're reaching the end of this entire circle, that the Jews today must connect, just like the Torah says, to be as one man in one heart, love thy friend as thyself. Religious, secular, doesn't matter. The Jewish people, first connecting between themselves so they discover that circle through which the upper abundance will flow. So they will become the source of light in our world. Then through them, this abundance, this upper abundance will come to the nations of the world as well. Because the connection already exists as a result of the entire exile, the integration. The integration has ended. The connection between us and the nations of the world is already there. Now, if there's light within us, it will also flow in that general system.
I see what you're saying. And I still want to ask, because on the face of it, if I were a non-Jew, and I would see the Jews all being united and happy and connected and again in touch with the Creator, with this higher world, I would be even more jealous and more hateful. No?
No, not now. Now, to the extent that we come together and connect, they will feel us as having the source of light, the source of life, and the solution that allows coming out of the global crisis, that we're not going to starve or be helpless in front of climate problems and all kinds of other problems that I don't know. How will I be saved by that? What will happen in the next half a year or even a month? There's already a force in our world that can save me and the entire world from all troubles.
But again, non-Jews have to feel...
Yes, each and every non-Jew will have this. Once we have that light, it will spread to them as well.
So it's not going to be exclusively to the Jews?
No, of course not. Of course it's not exclusive to the Jews. This is for everyone, because we're already all connected as one network. That's why today there's great work to do on our part, on the one hand.
Us? You mean, who's us?
The Jews. We have to connect, not them. We have to connect in order to become that passageway through which the light spreads into the world, and then the whole world comes down and comes to correction, and the crisis becomes corrected, and other than that, people also achieve a higher, eternal, perfect level of life.
Now you have 1.5 minutes to explain how we can do it.
By integral education, by beginning to learn about this entire thing. What does it mean to be connected? How to be connected? What does it mean to open our hearts to each other? Once we even begin to have a little bit of that towards each other, we will see how the world is awaiting for this to happen to us.
What is integral education?
Integral education means that we are today in an integrated world. We're all interconnected. So how do we become correctly, properly interconnected?
So it's an education on how to live in an integrated world?
Yes, based on love thy friend as thyself.
Basically.
All over the world.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Dr. Laitman.
Let's hope we succeed realizing this.
Absolutely. Thank you for being with us, and do join us again on our next conversations.